In 1636, Roger Williams founded Providence on the ideals of religious freedom and the idea that the government derives its consent from the governed. The idea that we, the people, are the true power holders in a nation. 140 years later, the founders of this nation sat down to declare their independence from a regime that they saw as oppressive, the government of Great Britain. And in that document in which they declared their independence, they proclaimed that all men are created equal. Well, it was clear from the beginning that all men certainly weren't treated equal, and women were outright excluded from that document. And so there was still much work to be done. But for one particular group, those who were held in chattel slavery in this nation, the idea of what the 4th of July symbolized to them was different than for most other people who lived in the nation at that time. To them, it was a reminder of their servitude and a reminder of what slavery was truly like. Frederick Douglass, the noted abolitionist and public speaker of the 19th century, wrote a speech in which he described what the 4th of July meant to those who were held in bondage. I invite you today, as we listen to our friends and our National Park Service colleagues reading excerpts from that speech, to consider how far we've come as a nation, but how far we still need to go.
Mr. President, friends and fellow citizens, he who could address this audience without a quailing sensation has stronger nerves than I have. The papers and placards say that I am to deliver a 4th of July oration.
It is the birthday of your national independence and of your political freedom. The Republic of America is now 76 years old. I am glad, fellow citizens, that your nation is so young.
There is hope in the thought, and hope is much needed under the dark clouds which lower above the horizon. Fellow citizens, I shall not presume to dwell at length upon the associations that cluster about this day.
76 years ago, the people of this country were British subjects. Your fathers went so far in their excitement as to pronounce the measures of government unjust, unreasonable, and oppressive.
There was a time when to pronounce against England and in favor of the cause of the colonies tried men's souls. They who did so were counted in their day plotters of mischief, agitators and rebels, dangerous men.
Feeling themselves harshly and unjustly treated, your fathers earnestly sought redress. They petitioned and remonstrated. They did so in a decorous, respectful, and loyal manner. They saw themselves treated with sovereign indifference, coldness, and scorn.
On the 2nd of July, 1776, the Old Continental Congress, to the dismay of the lovers of ease and the worshippers of property, clothed that dreadful idea with all the authority of national sanction. They did so in the form of a resolution.
Resolved, that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiances to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is, and ought to be, dissolved.
Citizens, your fathers made good that resolution. Pride and patriotism, not less than gratitude, prompt you to celebrate and to hold it in perpetual remembrance.
Fellow citizens, I am not wanting in respect for the fathers of this republic. The signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. They loved their country better than their own private interest.
Your fathers staked their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor on the cause of their country. In their admiration of liberty, they lost sight of all other interests.
Fellow citizens, pardon me. Allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us?
And am I, therefore, called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and to confess and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us?
I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us.
Your blessings, in which you this day rejoice, are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine.
You may rejoice, I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you in joyous anthems were inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today?
What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him, more than all other days, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is a constant victim.
To him, your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty an unholy license, your national greatness swelling vanity, your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless.
Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence, your shout of liberty, equality, almost mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgiving, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy.
A thin veil to cover up crimes that would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation of the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour.
At a time like this, scorching irony, non-convincing argument is needed. Oh, had I the ability, and could reach the nation's ear, I would, today, pour forth a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke.
For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The propriety of the nation must be startled.
The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and the crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced.
Allow me to say, in conclusion, notwithstanding the dark picture I have this day presented of the state of the nation, I do not despair of this country. There are forces in operation which must inevitably work the downfall of slavery.
I leave off where I began, with hope. While drawing encouragement from the Declaration of Independence, the great principles it contains, and the genius of American institutions, my spirit is also cheered by the obvious tendencies of the age.
Nations do not now stand in the same relation to each other that they did ages ago. Long-established customs of hurtful character could formally fence themselves in and their evil work with social impunity. Knowledge was then confined and enjoyed by the privileged few, and the multitude walked on in mental darkness.
But a change has now come over the affairs of mankind. Walled cities and empires have become unfashionable. The arm of commerce has borne away the gates of the strong city.
Intelligence is penetrating the darkest corners of the globe. It makes its pathway over and under the sea, as well as on the earth. Oceans no longer divide, but link nations together.
From Boston to London, now a holiday excursion. Space is comparatively annihilated. Thoughts expressed on one side of the Atlantic are distinctly heard on the other. The fiat of the Almighty, let there be light, has not yet spent its force. No abuse, no outrage, whether in taste, sport, or avarice, can now hide itself from the all-pervading light.